we are not able to make better films because we don't have infrastructure. It's not true. There are two ways of adapting a story into film. What differentiates good from the bad is the vision of the filmmaker, the politics of the filmmaking. If the content demands this idiom, these elements, I'm not against that. But how is it used is something, to be questioned. Not many. Actually, I am quite familiar with the 𝗳𝗵𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗀 films, 𝗁𝗂𝗍 and Karun's films. For me, it's the content and the vision. What vision I am trying to project, that matters. Expression in cinema and expression in literature is quite different. 𝗳𝗵𝗶𝗀 is one filmmaker in India who has a fantastic control over the cinematic idiom. Some people try to be politically correct all the times for various other reasons.
Today I am sitting in an island, Kadamakuri, an island in the corners of Kochi. It's raining here, there is gentle breeze, and this reminds me of a popular movie in Kannada which has been widely celebrated for its literary elements, its creative aspects, 𝗃𝗶𝗃𝗀𝗃, which had even won national awards. And I still remember watching the film, and the nuances of the movie had actually struck me. The film spoke about the environmental aspects of Western Ghats, and right now we are in a phase where we really face difficulties, especially Kerala, places like Wayanad. We are facing difficulties, and this has been beautifully portrayed in the movie 𝗃𝗶𝗃𝗀. So we have today with us Girish Kasaravalli, eminent filmmaker, acclaimed filmmaker across the world with a series of movies that really makes us in awe of love films and the magic of cinema. We are privileged actually to be with him today to talk about cinema, the contemporary scenario in Indian cinema, and how we could look at cinema beyond what we see on screen, and how we could enjoy film as an art form that could actually speak real things. Welcome, sir. Welcome to Malabar Journal.
Thank you.
We are very pleased to be with you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
How's Kochi treating you? How's it?
Yeah, I reached here day before yesterday. I'm very happy. It's raining. The atmosphere is very beautiful.
So you are here part of the Kadamakuri Film
Yes,
Festival, and it's
yes.
very beautiful that Kadamakuri villages got so many cinemas. So how do you feel about it?
It's a good attempt because we see in not only in India, in many parts of the world, festivals are held in the urban centers, and only the elite and the few privileged come and watch films. The rest of the world totally deprived of such good attempts. Kadamakuri is one film festival wherein you are screening the films, you are taking the films to the audience and then showing them, and people, they all come and participate. That actually should be the spirit, because what is happening is, if you see over it's India. We have won independence 6-7 decades ago, and still the cinema literacy hasn't improved at all. How do we improve that? Unless you, the common man or the people, get opportunity to watch good films, this cinema literacy will not prosper at all, grow at all. That's one thing which I always admired in such film festivals, wherein people like, people from these small places get an opportunity to watch film from all over the world. So we very often have this notion that, there are other countries making better films because they have better advantages, which is not true. They have better spirit, better understanding of medium, and better approach to the art. That's why they are making better films. So such festivals will break all these myths, that we are not able to make better films because we don't have infrastructure. It's not true.
When you spoke about good films, and we always have this idea on good films. Sometimes we say that parallel films, and you're always mentioned as one of the pioneers of parallel cinema in India. So I have always had this doubt about, like, how do we actually differentiate? Like, some films, people say that they don't understand anything. Those films are, put it to another side. And then there is this commercial cinema, which has this, all the masalas has to be, forcefully put. So what's your perspective on?
I normally don't make this differentiation at all, art cinema and popular cinema. For me, there are only two kinds of cinema, good cinema and bad cinema. What decides which is good and which is bad, what differentiates good from the bad is the vision of the filmmaker, the politics of the filmmaking.
Okay.
If what is he trying to say, how relevant it is, and how how healthy it is to the society, those should be the yardstick that differentiates good cinema and the bad cinema. So having said that, if somebody asks me what are the criterions, one thing is that the story or the content should appeal to me, because not purely because it's emotionally engaging, but it has a longer reach, longer in the sense, beyond plot. If it makes me realize my own surroundings, the real, then I would say it's a good film. So the content is one thing. Second thing, how cinematic it is. Is it breaking any new path, or is it simply narrating a story? If he's using the medium, I would still say, one should consider it. So there are quite a few yardsticks which differentiates good cinema from the bad cinema.
So when you said this, there is a lot of movies that has been like now, so-called pan-Indian films and highly commercially successful movies. Like, if you name, we have like 𝗵𝗶𝗶 to Kandara to Pushpa to so many movies. And somewhere at some point, most of us had felt the idea that, like, you endorse too much of violence in it. You have too many colors which might not be even part of the cinema or needed for the cinema, but it's still there, like, from special number dances to stunt sequence to so many things.
I have not seen many of the films that you referred to. If the content demands this idiom, these elements, I'm not against that. But how is it used is something, to be questioned. Is it trying to manipulate the viewer by using this element, or is he or she trying to widen the perspective of the viewer? That should be the criterion. By using, I would say violence, but by using, say, fantasy elements, I would just dismiss a film because it uses a fantasy element. Similarly, I won't use or accept the film just because it has a realistic
Layer.
Finally, with the vision of the filmmaker, what is he trying to say? How analytical he is about the contemporary society or the human conditions. That is what matters to me. So these are all, for me, same elements could be used in a very meaningful way, could also be used in a very selective way. I don't like, that's why I use the term, how manipulative the idiom is. If one is using an idiom for the manipulating a kind of this, then I doubt it, the intention of the filmmaker. Because the moment you say manipulation, one is trying to gain some profit from that, then I doubt his intentions.
I would like to ask you about Malayalam cinema and influence in you on by Malayalam cinema. Maybe 𝗵𝗶 you did the documentary on him. You have been at FTII and you might have seen a lot of our filmmakers over there. And could you tell us about Malayalam cinema and how do you look at the cinema and its grammar, visual style?
That way, I'm not very familiar with what is happening in Malayalam cinema. I know some of the senior filmmakers. I'm familiar with their work. Not many. Actually, I am quite familiar with 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗀 films, 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃 and Karan's films. Apart from that, I have seen few films by other film directors, but I've seen it once or not competent enough to talk on that. It's true, I made a documentary on 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃. It's not a documentary on 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃, but it's a documentary on 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃's images. Because why I'm stressing this is 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃 is one filmmaker in India who has a fantastic control over the cinematic idiom. His mise-en-scene construction is so beautiful that if you are watching it, you just get swayed away by it. So I wanted to understand that what is it that works behind it, behind the construction of this mise-en-scene. Mise-en-scene means, the way how the shot is constructed, scene is constructed. In that process, I try to extract the philosophy behind his idiom. See, in India, most of the times, what the problem is that they think idiom is only to profile the content, which is not it should be the case. Idioms are there to put forward the vision of the filmmaker. So each idiom, a trolley shot, or it's a lens, or an angle, or optics, there's a philosophy behind it. So I wanted to bring that out so that people understands filmmakers from a different perspective. That was my attempt in that film. That's why it's titled Images and Reflections. Images created by 𝗳𝗏𝗃𝗀𝗃, reflection is by me, reflection of those images.
Since you spoke about images, your movies have the images and semantics and semiotics of your cinema as so rich and so culturally ingrained. And how do you think, like this folk arts, folklores and performing arts, how much can it be influenced in cinema, and how much we could use it to create a aesthetically pleasing space in cinema?
Yeah, there are certain filmmakers who are greatly influenced their folk forms, their culture, their literature, the other art forms, and try to incorporate that in their films. I don't go by that kind of yardstick. For me, it's the content which decides everything. I use certain folk idiom in certain in films, and I use other details, other kind of expression in other films, because this is based on the content of the. So it's for me, it's the content and the vision. What vision I am trying to project, that matters. In a film called 𝗂𝗓𝗵𝗀 Writing the Stallion of Dream, I've used a kind of going back and forth. That is, that whole structure is taken from the 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃𝗃, in the sense, wherein the ghost repeats the same thing for certain reasons. So like that, you see, I take things from literature, I have taken in other forms, like in 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃, for example. There are a lot of references to the culture of Karnataka. So I don't have a fixed this one, but it all depends, it all decided by the content, what I am trying to say through this content, what is that I want to share with my viewers. So that decides the form.
When you look at world cinema, when these imageries are used, how do you observe it, world cinema from perspective?
I cannot use one yardstick to understand every film. I again go back to each and every individual. I don't understand Ozu and Antonioni from the same platform. For Antonioni, it's interiority of the mind, and then how does he use the architecture to bring that out. Whereas in Ozu, his total approach is different. It's the move and the philosophy, Buddhist philosophy that matters. In Bergman, it's a Christian film. So one has to understand things from different perspectives.
Adaptations, when we take literature, most of your films are like, can I use inspired, or is it like influenced by many literary artworks of Karnataka? And how do you feel? Like, I have heard you saying in an interview that you have always felt that you have never given justice to the exact literature when you make movies, but you have always taken adapted stories from the literature. So how is your approach?
I don't think I have made that statement that I have never done just justice to the literature. What I have said is I am never faithful to the original.
Okay.
I take the essence and develop another story on my own that may resemble the original or may not resemble the original. And the very first film that I started my career with is 𝗃𝗃. I have taken the story of a very well-known, reputed film writer like 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗃. After watching the films, he said one thing. He said, Girish, I really like the film because it doesn't resemble my story. Not many writers will be so magnanimous to say such things. But he said, that should be the way of adoption. Otherwise, why should one do the adaptation? If I get the same image, same kind of emotional impression, then why should a film be made? And that's the impression, that's the opinion he gave, and I thought it's very valid. So there are two ways of adapting a story into film. One is to be very faithful and do the film in letter and spirits. Only the thing is that they substitute the literary word with the images. I don't like that kind of adaptation at all. Then where is the creativity?
Yeah.
There's another way of adapting the stories into films. You get inspired by the story and try to develop a new story from that. So that fascinates me a lot. I have adopted, in all my 16 films, that format. None of them resemble the original short story. I am very fortunate. I am one of the very fortunate filmmaker probably in the world, where all my writers are happy with my adaptation. They have said fantastic things. Though the film doesn't resemble their stories at all. Why does one do this? For many things, that kind of adaptation offers you many different, diverse interpretation to the story. One is that you are looking at the story from today's perspective. So there are other tensions, there are other way of looking at things. You negotiate with the story and bring out new meaning in it. Meaning that are not there. Probably possibilities that were there, but it was not fully developed, or you are seeing new meaning in it, or responding to that story. In a way, that is very fruitful for many reasons. One is you get the director's perspective on it, you get contemporary interpretation of the thing. More than that, the negotiation of the literature and cinema, you see that. I use this style also because you see the expression in cinema and expression in literature is quite different. Because you use words which are basically not concrete, and you use words to express certain ideas. Whereas in cinema we use images to. The words by nature, they are not concrete, they are abstract. So you are using abstract words to create a concrete image. But in cinema, the material itself is concrete. The image that you see is concrete. So my attempt is by using concrete images, trying to create an abstract notion. So a film which is a faithful adaptation of the original doesn't interest me, because you are trying to what is it? You are trying to replace words with concrete visuals. Where is the new creativity?
The sensibilities of in the society, in the perspective on gender, caste, religion, all the intersectionalities has evolved over the years, over the past few decades. So cinema also had those influence. And how do you look at, like, how has it changed? Especially, like, in your films, women always had a space. Gender has never had to, we never had to assert, like, the women is not given justice or any of the things. So when you make films, how do you look at, irrespective of all these aspects of intersectionality, gender, caste, religion, when it comes to art?
You cannot make a story without interacting with these things. The moment you pick up a story, you're telling the story of XYZ, but using that XYZ as a tool, you're talking about this largest society. You're talking about the society, you're talking about the human race, you're talking about your history, you're talking about politics, you're talking about social condition. Whenever one is trying to narrate a story from an analytical perspective, naturally all these things come into field. Just pick up any story, one can read the politics in it, the gender, politics in it, racial politics in it, caste politics in it, economic situations in it. So one has to be very, very careful while writing the script, whether all these things are there in the film. If you omit all those things, then it becomes a flat characterization. To make the characterization very strong, you need to look at it from all these perspectives. How does this story talks about the gender equality? How does this talk about caste? How does this talk about the international relations? How does it talk about racial this one? So that's very important.
We consciously keep using the word political incorrectness nowadays. So when you are looking art from a human perspective, do you think that kind of an incorrectness will be there in art?
This political correctness and political incorrectness, you have to define. Will you please define it to me? Because what happens is, very often, some people try to be politically correct all the times for various other reasons. That actually weakens the film. The filmmaker or an artist should have the firm determination to say what he thinks is correct, whether it is politically incorrect or politically correct. When we say political correctness, what we mean, correctness that suits the establishment. I don't agree with that. A correctness that comes out of the content is what is important.
It is always about polarization, neutrality, art, artivism. We have seen a lot of revolutions happening through cinema, literature, artworks. So how do you look at the current scenario in India, and also how much art is actually doing its part, or how much art is able to?
We must understand one thing. The purpose of art is to sensitize the reader, viewer and the connoisseur. It's not there to pass on any message. The viewer or the reader will have to inherit the meaning and find his own answers. If a film or a work of art or if a literature tries to give a meaning or a reason which is applicable to all, that itself is a fascist. The good work, at least as I understand, good work, good cinema, provoke you so that you start thinking on those lines which so far I have not thought of, and find your own answer. If each one among the audience starts thinking that, you make him think, That is way how you sensitize the viewer. The giving a message or one answer to every solution, that should be the purpose of the art. It should sensitize so that you find the answer. Each viewer finds his or her answer to it, solution to it.
As I asked you earlier, like, why aren't you not making movies anymore? Like, in Kraurya, you have said that, what is the point of telling a story if there are nobody to actually listen?
I've been continuously making films. Even now, I have shot a film. I'm just waiting for the monsoon to begin so that I can shoot the remaining portion. Just 5 days of shooting is left. I've never stopped making films, 2010 was 𝗃𝗵𝗃𝗀𝗃𝗀. Then I made 2 documentaries meanwhile. That also took 2 years each. So 4 years is gone for 2 films. Then I made 2 films and 2 documentaries for the local state government. And then I made 1 film in 2019. Because of the COVID, not many people are able to watch it. We finished it, and the day we got the film censored, we got the film censored in December somewhere. I think February or so, what is it called? Corona lockdown was announced. For 2 years, we couldn't do anything with the film. So those are the reasons why people think that I am not making a film. Even now, I'm just finished a film.
So, in your cinematic journey, like more than 4 decades, how do you look at you as a filmmaker? How much have you, evolved, and how much have you kept on challenging yourself? And is it like in the current scenario? Do you think that I'm still in awe with cinema, or have you ever felt that withdrawal aspect in creative space?
Well, it's for the others to deconstruct my film and analyze how different I am. Because as I told you earlier, the content that dictates form. And when I pick up any story, I start thinking about it, and then finally arrive at a way of constructing the film. And I am of the opinion, by a lot of my films, they are in the vision they are similar, but in the construction they are quite different.